our affirmation for our message this morning is, I am reformed by the renewing of my mind. And as we look at that, we see that the new in renewing is large and capitalized. Because when we think of the renewing of our mind, it's important to realize that something new is happening. Something new is happening every day in every way. A lot of times when we say new thought, I believe that people are of the opinion that we are new thought because of the age of our faith tradition. And of course, we know that a lot of the ideas and the thoughts and the processes of our faith tradition have in fact been carried on for years and years. We can read about the old Sufis doing it, and they just called it practicing whatever, and they didn't necessarily put a name on it. They didn't put this name of new thought on it. So when we think of the new in new thought, it is that we are aware and conscious of the newness of everything that happens to us every day in every way. We certainly have some days that are far different than others, and those are actually few and far between. The day we get married, the day we give birth, the day we buy a new car, the day we buy our house, or the day we retire, or the day that we graduate and get our special degree, or the day we fall in love with somebody. I mean, there's all these special days, but of course that can't be every day. And we know what's filled in between are days that often people think are so humdrum. Well, it's just another day that I got to get through. And the reality is that even in those days, there's something new to see, to experience, to realize, to understand. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a part of this New Thought movement and know that in addition to the reality that our faith tradition is relatively new compared to a lot, and a wonderful thing about being in New Thought is that we're not a proselytizing faith. And so, there's so much more to it, but it's something that you need to come to in your own time, and Spirit is going to drive you to it when it is your time. We as individuals can share information, but it's not our place to drag people. We are of this faith tradition that is not proselytizing, and we know that we don't need to be, because there is so much wonderment and there's so much greatness and there's so much newness out there. And I'm thinking that as this time period is shifting as it is, where we're seeing so many people these days who are, and we'll call them the millennials. I hate to ascribe an identity on an entire group of people, but just because of, when they were born, the millennials these days, so often I hear from people, well, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I believe there's something out there, but I just don't necessarily believe what I heard in church, or, this church I went to, or that church I went to. And we know that there was a lot of challenging times, especially when you're a youth and you're rebelling against your parents, you're rebelling against authority, you're rebelling against just about everything, just trying to keep your head above water, trying to stay like one of the cool people at school, and you're managing to keep your social status. And it's so funny that it's such a short period of time between that 12th grade and like the second year and the first and the second year afterwards, where you realize, oh God, what do I care about social standing? I just need to make sure I can eat and pay my living expenses and keep my car running. And that's all you care about then, which is fine and great, because these are the lessons in life. But in each of those days, no matter how mundane they are, there is always something new. There is always something new to become aware of and to brighten your day, even if it is one of those many mundane, humdrum days where a lot of us, we fall into a routine. I know I do. I get into my car in the morning and I drive to work and I take the same exact streets and I go the exact same route, and it's almost like a robotic thing. And of course, I'm paying enough attention. If somebody pulls out in front of me or stops short in front of me, I'm not going to run into them. I'm paying that much attention. But to a lot of the things going around, I'm not paying that much attention. And this idea of realizing the new came to me when I was getting into a discussion recently with somebody because my house desperately needs to be painted. I don't think it's been painted since it was built in 1905. So that's a lot of years of no paint. And so the painter was telling me, as you're driving through the neighborhoods, look at the other craftsmen's, look at the other small little bungalows and see what color schemes they have. See what color schemes they have. And when you stop and you start looking at the colors, and then, of course, you can't help but be drawn to the gardening or the landscaping or how the porch is laid out and all these different things. And this just adds more wonderment. And it seems like such a simplistic thing because, that same house has been there for probably 20 years at least. It's going to be there for at least another 20 years. And so there's nothing spectacular about it, but the spectacular part is the awareness of it and how indeed reforming our mind by the renewing of our mind, which is so important because we don't want to be stagnant beings. Our Creator didn't create us to simply exist and eat and sleep and get up and eat and sleep and so on and so forth when there are so many things to be done. Otherwise, He wouldn't have given us all this potential for incredible mind power to learn, to absorb, to want to make things better, to want to reach out and give and help. So we know that our Creator intended much more for us than merely existence, but a full and complete and wonderful and bountiful existence. And that's what we get. And certainly when we read through the scriptures and we learn and we read about the wonderful words of Christ and how He shared all of the experiences that He had in His time. And in that time, for a lot of it, after He left home, He was, and I think I spoke on this a bit last month, he basically lived the life of a homeless man. Of course, Christ always felt and knew that He was protected. He had the grace of God with Him in each and every circumstance. And so as I'm talking about this, as I'm talking about each day being something new, and as we see these things and as we experience all of these new things, to take them in and know that in this process, even though some of these processes we go through in our day-to-day routine seem mundane, know that indeed through our thoughts, through our mind action, we are indeed invoking the grace of God, and we therefore are protected in every day, in every way. We are protected economically because we know the spiritual laws of prosperity apply to us just as they do to every other being. And if we know that those laws work and how to enact them, and we apply them in our lives, then indeed we're going to have lives of great prosperity. And with regards to health, we know that there are divine laws regarding health. And we know that if we adhere to these laws, that indeed we're going to enjoy health as we are meant to, according to the laws and the grace of God. And the same thing occurs during peace and with issues of love, that these are all universal laws. And if we apply all of these principles and if we do them individually and people see us and they see us having these wonderful, happy, incredible lives, and then hopefully it spreads exponentially and it gets to people in power who might at this time really need to learn a lot about being peaceful and loving in all circumstances and all situations. And indeed, by doing this, we are reforming our minds every day. Every day, something new that we see is renewing our mind. And so when you get up tomorrow and you start your day and you look in that mirror, you say, you know what, I am going to be consciously aware as I go through my routine today of all these different things I see around me. Whether it's when I step out to go to the garage and I see that there's a new flower budding, about to bud on a bush, or a tree is starting to grow, or the leaves on the tree are changing, or any number of different things that are happening. All of these are small, incredible miracles, and they all have the power to reform our minds by renewing it because we're seeing this new thing. And so the goal for the week is receive as a blessing each new day. Recall, a New Thought student is just that, always learning new ideas, discoveries. We are new thought, as we are aware that each day will bring with it something new, be it a simple awareness of a blooming flower, a delighting personality quirk only just recognized in a friend or family member, or observing how something around you is constructed. Looking up and in the process, too, of this paint search, I've been, observing how the house is constructed. So you see, because, so many different parts get painted different colors, but just seeing the architecture of how God has placed in the mind of man these wonderful, incredible ideas of how to build these structures that protect us from foul weather. And, of course, each time we see something new that we hadn't realized before, that is, of course, reforming us and renewing our mind. So that's the goal this week, is go out and see yourself and say, I'm a new thought student. What new thing am I going to see today? What new thing am I going to see or experience today that is going to be renewing my mind? And know that it doesn't have to be your wedding day or the day of a new car or the day you graduate. It can be a regular Tuesday when you don't even go to Del Taco for Taco Tuesday. You just go through the day like a normal day, because there's so much new things happening all around you all the time. And the good news this week is that every day is a new day. And as Charles Fimore wrote, and as many of you know, Charles Fimore is one of the co-founders of Unity, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So know that as you're seeing these new things and your mind is being renewed, you're being transformed in positive ways, Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We can also be ideal new thought students in a renewing of our mind each and every day, being aware of what is taking place around us. So often in our lives of modern times, we almost robotically go from one event and process of daily living to the next, not taking stock of the beauty, uniqueness, and wonderment that surrounds it. Yes, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, by the simple act being open and receptive to the new thought of each day. And each day does hold something new. Each day does. And some of us think, well, my gosh, I've been here on this earth for so long, and I've lived in the same place for so long, and I've done the same thing over and over, and I can't imagine there's something new. But you know what? You put a little bit of effort, and you're going to look, and you're going to see there is so much new that is happening, and it is so exciting. And as Charles Fimore stated, you are transformed by the renewing of your mind. Each and every day, each and every day. All right, so I'm going to invite you to join me now in prayer. Eternal and loving God, we thank you so much for allowing us the option to indeed see all the newness around us every day in every way. We thank you for allowing our minds to be expanded, to be renewed and reformed by seeing, by taking in, by realizing, and by an awareness of all the newness around us. And we thank you for your eternal laws that keep everything in check and balance, and that indeed do prosper us and keep us healthy and provide us with happy, loving, peaceful relationships. We thank you, Lord, for all of these things and more. In the name of faith, hope, and love. Amen.